Hey, welcome to Fugitive Watch. I'm Mark Hinch here with Steve Verdeen, Scott Castrita, and we're checking out everything at fugitive.com. This is our live stream. Thank you for joining us. Make sure in the comments you let us know you're in there. If you join the comments on YouTube or Facebook, and tell us where you're from. And we've got a lot going on tonight. We have another wanted fugitive. We're going to actually start this case with. We're also going to take a look at some scams going on, and then what happened at the stabbing at Santana Row last week here in the San Jose area. And just so we know, I'm Mark Hinch, retired California Highway Patrol officer. I'm with Steve Verdeen, retired San Jose police officer and co-founder of Fugitive Watch, and Scott Castrita, retired San Jose police sergeant, whatever. And also co-founder of Fugitive Watch. Hi, guys. Okay. Steve, Scott, Yolanda Marodi wanted for murder in the suspected murder of her spouse, Rebecca Marodi, a CAL FIRE captain. And this has got to be devastating to the CAL FIRE community down south there.
Go ahead, Steve. Go ahead and talk about it.
Well, basically what happened, this is the police have described this as a domestic violence situation. And they've identified the victim, Rebecca's wife, Yolanda, as the suspect in the homicide, alleged suspect in the homicide. She's wanted now. They're releasing her picture and also a photo of her vehicle and the license plate. And there's an all points bulletin out for her arrest. They have issued a warrant for her arrest.
All right. Let's talk about a little bit of her history. Let's start with watching a little bit of the story. And I guess the main thing is that she, this isn't her first time of going to prison for killing someone. The first time was an ex-husband back in the early 2000s, and she was convicted of manslaughter. And at that time, she went missing too. So this is not her first, how do you say?
Deborah, thanks for joining us. And Frank, thank you.
This is not her first rodeo.
Yeah, no. Yeah. I mean, that's exactly what's going on here. So let me find this story here.
She had an incredible sense of humor. She could make anybody laugh.
The ex-wife of CAL FIRE Captain Becky Marodi is speaking out about domestic violence.
This is solely a case of a toxic relationship gone very, very bad. And domestic violence, touches so many more people than we even realize.
Police suspect Marodi's current wife, Yolanda Marodi, of stabbing the well-known captain to death Monday night inside the home they shared in Ramona. They had been married about 2 years.
Guys, do we know how the call came in? How did they get the call to the homicide?
I read a lot of articles. I was trying to figure that out because that was the one thing I didn't see. And Steve and I talked about it. And I'm thinking, if I had to guess, my best guess is going to be she didn't show up to work or something, or somebody couldn't get a hold of her, and they probably did a welfare check. I mean, because they're not putting out why they went out there or how they found her, or if somebody went knocking on the door and found it. We don't know. They're not releasing that, probably for the investigation.
All right.
Yeah, I try to research it also, Mark, and I could not find any reference as to how she the victim was found.
Okay. Hey, listen, if you're joining us either on Facebook or YouTube, we have Deborah on Facebook and Frank on YouTube. However you are, please comment in there. Let us know you're there. Thanks a lot. All right, let's watch some more of this.
Yolanda was very jealous, my understanding, and did not want to have Becky maintaining friendships that she'd had for years with other women.
Leila Fledger Phillips says she never met Yolanda Marodi in person, but she knew about her criminal past.
Well, yeah, tell me about this. What do we know back in the early 2000s?
Well, apparently she was married and she has 2 kids, and she was convicted for apparently she stabbed or shot. Did she shoot or stab her ex-husband, Steve? I don't remember. I don't recall.
Yeah, I think it was a shooting.
It was a shooting, yeah. And she went on the run for about 24 hours, and then I guess she got caught or turned herself in. And
yeah, apparently she turned herself in.
Yeah, she did I think she got 11 years or did 9 or something similar to that, and then she was back out and about.
All
And
right.
apparently, a lot of people didn't. I don't know how. They say they didn't know about her history, and apparently, she had a job that allowed her to. That they would have questioned. You would think they would have questioned that.
And as of 7 p.m. here, California time on this Monday night, she's still wanted. I didn't check just before we went on. She was wanted this afternoon. No updates yet, right?
Yeah, the husband in the first case, he actually already had a restraining order against her,
Right. He did.
for domestic violence. And Mark, I just want to share with our audience, our followers, is that domestic violence, touches all the levels of society. I mean, I have handled domestic violence cases with surgeons, wealthy people, middle income people, and not low income people. It's not just a crime that touches somebody else. It touches all layers of society.
Yeah. And it all happens a lot. I mean, but she already had a history of this, and I'm not even sure if Rebecca's family knew about her past.
Well, I don't know, but I know she also had a couple kids with her ex-husband, and back then they were minors. So I'm not sure what their ages are now, but they're probably adults at this point.
Okay, let's watch the rest of this.
Back in 2000, when she was known by the name Yolanda Olejniczek, court records show she was sentenced to 11 years in state prison for voluntary manslaughter after stabbing her then estranged husband to death in Fontana.
All right, so there she goes. He had a restraining order against her, as you could see here, and then eventually she stabs him and flees. And I was going to think that the cops, Scott, right away, she comes up as the number one suspect or person of interest, just because you're going to go there, right? We don't know how they found it, but they find her, and then right away, what's any cop going to think? Where is the spouse? Correct.
Well, yeah, definitely, and especially if the spouse isn't the one that called it in, you're like, where is the spouse? Where's the husband? Where's the wife?
Right.
A lot of times too, Mark, is that other family members and friends will have seen a pattern of domestic violence and know something's wrong with this relationship, even though the victim doesn't do anything about it. And they're the ones who will tell police, hey, you need to look at so-and-so because this has been going on for a long time.
Right.
Back in the day, when Steve and I worked a two-man car for a while there, we went out to a 911 call, and the lady answered the door, and she had said, "Oh no, we're fine. Everything's fine." And she was a little bit bloody, and she's like, "Oh no, we're good. We'd like to come in and check and make sure you're okay." And we walked in, and she goes, "Oh, I'm fine." And she goes in the kitchen, and she starts cleaning a knife. And we look over, and there's her husband in the chair. She reached over the chair, and she had multiply stabbed him, and she's over there washing the knife in the sink. We're like, "Whoa, hold on, stop right there."
I'm laughing, but yeah, no,
it was
that's incredible. You guys were partners when this happened?
Yeah. The victim was sitting in one of those reclining chairs, and it looked like maybe he might have been sleeping or watching TV or something when she was stabbing him, because you could see the blood. It looked like the Friday the 13th movie. The blood on the wall as he's trying to get up out of the chair as she's stabbing him, and then he's trying to reach for the phone, I guess, to call 911. And that's where the 911 calls.
She picked up the phone and she told the 911 operator she didn't need us. Everything was okay. But because of the way, as Steve was saying, these domestic violence calls are, you don't know. We go out, knock on the door, and we physically want to see that the person's okay. And typically your first thought is, well, the woman answered the phone. She's probably the one that when she answered the phone, we thought, oh man, she's probably not she may be in trouble. And we got there and she's like, oh no, I'm fine. But she wouldn't open the door all the way. And we kind of like, no, we're coming in to check on you and make sure everything's okay. And that's when we walked in and she was like, oh, everything's just fine. Oh, I remember she said, oh yeah, that's my husband. He went outside because he heard a noise in the backyard. And when he came in, this is what happened.
Wow. Okay. let's listen to the rest of this. And
she had filed for divorce against the victim months earlier and was living in Fallbrook with her 2 children. She went on the run after the stabbing and turned herself into police about 24 hours after the killing, according to published reports.
so we're almost in the exact same situation, although this happened on Monday, and now she's got that car. She's got the Equinox, I think, and she's on the run, or she's hiding someplace, or she's whatever's happened to her. Which is
a lot of people are saying that they think that she fled to Mexico, but I don't know what I tried to research that. I couldn't really find how they got came about that connection. But but like I said, I mean, they're going to go out there. They're going to comb the scene. They're going to be looking for everything from cameras. They're going to be looking at cell phone towers.
Yeah, we'll get into that. Okay.
New photos and vehicle information today. The 54-year-old is 5 foot 2 inches tall, about 166 pounds, with tattoos on both arms. And she's believed to be driving a silver 2013 Chevrolet Equinox with license plate 8BQ J420.
For this to happen to Becky is just in our home. That was the home that we lived in together. It's just unfathomable.
So that's her ex-spouse there. And then, so Steve, she could have went to Mexico. I'm going to tell you right now, on a hunt like this, they're going to be checking. Obviously, the borders there's only a few border entries into Mexico on the California side, actually, and they're pretty well surveilled. So if they have that vehicle going south, there's a good chance they can identify that. They're not telling us anything. The cops are really kind of keeping everything to themselves. And why would that be?
Well, go ahead, Scott.
Because any time when you have an investigation like that, people get upset and they think, well, why didn't they tell us everything? Well, they got to hold those cards close to their vest, because there's maybe information that only the suspect knows, and they don't want to put that out, and they don't want to give the person that opportunity to know everything that they do know. And I guarantee you they are on this. She will be found, and I highly doubt anybody is going to hide her. So she is on her own. I mean, they're going to be checking credit card records. They're going to be checking the bank to see if she went to the bank and withdrew money.
Cell phone.
I mean, yeah, exactly. Cell phone.
Yeah, the vehicle.
The camera systems that you work with all the time as a private investigator.
Right.
They're going to be looking at those. I mean, and even if it looks like, as Steve mentioned earlier, when we're talking
Frank,
about it, she was in kind
Frank. Frank's
working for the space program. Yeah.
What do you mean laugh? We're just trying to. Anyway.
So she lives in kind of a rural area where there's probably not a lot of houses around, but that doesn't mean that there aren't any houses around, and that people these days, everybody has camera systems. I mean, I got 16 of them. So, I mean, everybody these days are sporting camera systems. Somebody's going to have seen that vehicle leave.
I think law enforcement knows more than what they're saying, obviously. And they're probably pretty close, I would think. And maybe they're just they're putting it out there, just that last tip. Maybe someone sees this vehicle behind a building or in a parking garage or something like that, or happens to see one driving with no plates on it or something, or it's in Mexico, like you said, Steve.
She's also Mark. We have to remember she's also a danger to others. She's a danger to law enforcement. She's already killed twice now, and some poor officer who comes across her on a unrelated call or
car stop.
Car stop. What we call in the business a chance encounter. If she poses a risk to that officer, Mark. And again, I want to remind anybody who knows somebody who's in a domestic violence situation that there is help out there. Call 911 if you're in a domestic violence situation.
Steve,
I had a situation where a young nurse was taken at gunpoint by her boyfriend, who was on parole, and kidnapped. And her coworker, she was walking back to her car after her shift with her coworkers, and her coworkers called 911. And we spent, I was working swing shift. We spent all night. I spent like 12 hours looking for that poor girl, and finally he drops her off at mom's house, and I go to talk to her, and she doesn't want to press charges. She's telling me, "Oh no, I wasn't kidnapped. I was volunteer. I went volunteer." I said, "No, I'll be here. All eyewitnesses say you were taken at gunpoint." And anyway, make a long story short, I arrest the boyfriend, and we put a parole hold on him and arrest him for kidnapping. And for some reason, she decides not to want to cooperate and testify against him. So the district attorney drops the charges of kidnapping at gunpoint. Right. And lo and behold, a week later, he kidnaps her again. And this time, a sheriff's deputy happens across and parked on the side of the road up on Mount Hamilton, and is walking up to the car, and he shoots the deputy, and then he shoots and kills the girlfriend. And then he flees, and we're on a manhunt. We put him on fugitive watch, and where he was at large for a year. Yeah. And again, that was to domestic violence victim that they get into this syndrome where they don't want to prosecute.
Well, in this case, a case like this and like that, you're going to have the U.S. Marshals going to have a fugitive task force. And it's not just federal U.S. Marshals. This task force, I have a lot of friends that belong to them and worked with them before in Oakland and San Jose. I know you guys have too. The Marshals set up Task Force Regional, and they pull in officers, investigators from different agencies. I know the Highway Patrol has people that belong to these. I know, remember, San Jose did. Obviously, parole, state parole is going to belong to these teams. And then obviously there's going to be marshals, but a lot of agencies will contribute. So I would think in a case like this agency handling this, especially if someone's fled the county or even the state or now even out of the country, the marshals will be taking the lead on the actual hunt.
Well, it's going to be hard for her with the way the system is now. Like Steve and I, we started doing Fugitive Watch in '92. We worked closely with the marshals, the FBI, all of them. They would come to us. We were like, there wasn't social media back then. Now it's just crazy. Her picture is out there everywhere. And we're doing our part to put that out there and to let the community know that she's out there and she's at large and she's a danger to people still. And I think it's going to be really hard for somebody like that unless she's had some kind of Jason Bourne training to
I doubt
disappear. She ain't going nowhere.
Drunken rage. Hey, Steve, you can see the new banner down below with our contact information. What should people do? What should people do if they see Yolanda?
Well, if you see it's an immediate sighting, call 911. If you have some information where you don't know where she's at this moment, but you know where she can be found, you can send us a tip at tips at fugitive.com, tips@fugitive.com, or you can call our hotline at 1-800-9-CAUGHT.
All right. Well, I know that the CAL FIRE community has to be devastated, and we reach out to them. We were thinking about them. And again, thank you for the tips that have come in. We know that law enforcement is taking some, and I'm sure maybe we'll get some resolution out of this soon. All right, let's go up here to.
I just want to add
Scott.
one more thing. We will, when we find out, we get the information. We'll update it on our social media. So come back and check, and see what we find out.
All right. So on our Fugitive Watch Instagram page, Scott, we had last week. We briefly mentioned out at Santana Row there was a stabbing, right?
There was.
What's going on with that?
So apparently, last week there was an altercation out at Santana Row, which is, for people who don't know what that is, it's a upscale shopping area with restaurants and upscale shopping. It's not a place where you normally expect to see gang fights. San Jose put out that this was apparently gang motivated, but they're putting out that the victim, who is 15, they haven't put out his name, was not affiliated with any gangs. And they're also putting out that the main person that's been arrested and charged is 13 years old. And so there's a 13-year-old and there's 3 16-year-olds and then the 18-year-old. But the way the law is, we can't show you the pictures. Law enforcement can't show you who these guys are because they have a very delicate, innocent psyche that could be ruined. And so,
you're being okay,
no,
you're being
sarcastic, not at all. But yeah, back in the day when we used to get people that were wanted for murder and they were under 18, we couldn't even show people the pictures of them,
right?
And which we still don't understand that, but that's another story. But
yeah, so this is we all go to Santana Row. Scott and you and I were there just recently, and I drove through the other night, one of the drive-bys, one of the ride-alongs, and this is going to be gang related, it appears.
Yeah, that's what they're reporting, and obviously, I mean, maybe I'm a little partial to San Jose. They did a hell of a job. They did a good investigation. They rounded these guys up and they figured out who all the players were. That's right. And they got them all in custody. And now it's up to that thing we call the justice system.
Yeah, we'll see what happens with that. Again, if you have any idea of what's going on and have some information you want to pass off to law enforcement, maybe you don't want to talk to cops directly, give a call at 1-800-9-CAUGHT. All right, let's okay, this next one, guys, it's political. Okay, so no matter what side of the fence you're on, bear with us. Let's just talk about the facts of what's going on here, okay?
We'll try.
Camila Gokan waving Trump flag, taken to ground by a police officer, caught on camera. Let's just go straight to the story on this one, and let's watch this video.
For you at 4 o'clock video showing a Valley woman waving a Trump flag being taken to the ground by a police officer. The incident filmed and posted to TikTok has the woman saying that her rights were violated. And 12 News journalist Sean Rice been following.
Okay, so that first little clip right there that you see is like they both get out of the car at the same time. He gets out, and then she's got her flag up. And then look, keep watching. Here we go.
This story for us this afternoon.
Yeah, he's live in Surprise, where all of this unfolded. Sean, what led to that takedown?
Yeah, Tram and Rachel, today I spoke with that woman in that video. Her name is Camelia Gokan. She tells me she saw some anti-Trump protesters gathered here at this Surprise intersection on Monday afternoon, a little after 1:30. She's a pro-Trump supporter, so she got her flag and began driving around in her red convertible, waving that flag at those protesters. A surprised police officer initiated a traffic stop, believing she was obstructing traffic. But before the officer could get to her driver's side window, Gokan exited her vehicle. And as she exited her vehicle, she began waving that flag in the air.
Right there.
Now, in an interview today.
Now, I watched this. I know you guys will watch this. He takes her down right away. I mean, he attempts to grab her right away. Now, she's got the flag up. Okay, before we go anywhere with this, I mean, look, you're raising a pole, man, woman, whatever. You're raising a pole at somebody, a cop. Normal people would just, first of all, never jump out of the car. Never jump out of the car. Let the officer approach you. Correct?
Correct.
That is absolutely correct.
Absolutely correct. Okay,
let's watch this. To get out of the vehicle.
All right, we're just breaking it down as we go, frame by frame. Here we go.
Hey, with me, Gokan tells me she believes the surprise police officer violated her rights and used excessive force. She claims she was.
Now, I saw that, and I see him right away. He's reaching to grab her. So if you thought someone was coming at you to hit you, that's the proper response.
That is the proper response. But
okay,
well,
all right,
okay.
all right. So, but people are going to say people are going to say she was just waving the flag, right?
Yeah, peaceful protest.
No threat to that officer before she was taken to the ground. Now, the video has gathered 250,000 views on TikTok. Today, she walked us throughout this intersection, showing me step by step the action she took to express her support for President Trump. Now, surprise police.
Oh, okay, now wait a minute. Now she's up again. After the initial incident, she broke away and she's back waving the flag, running around, right? So she's already been like thrown to the ground once or pushed back down on the car.
That's what it looked
You would
like to
think-
me.
I mean, that's what I'm looking at here. So when you see this happen, you're thinking, okay, this officer is obviously upset or something's going on. I should just sit and mind my thing. But it doesn't look like he's doing that. Whether the officer's right or wrong, but what he did, she keeps going with her flag waving thing, correct? Is that what I just saw here?
Yeah, I mean, if you get beat by a flag that used to be against the law.
Oh, here we go.
And, well, it did. You used to before.
No, you're right. No, you're right. We're going to get there. We're going to get there.
But, you know.
Yeah, we're going to get there. Okay, hold on. Let's watch this.
Police say the officer stopped her because they had probable cause to believe she was obstructing traffic by stopping in the middle of the road here. Today, she showed us bruises and a cut on her forearm, saying it was all the result of that takedown.
Felt so embarrassed. On this other side were protesters showing fingers and cursing, and they were applauding, they were doing.
I have so many jokes I could tell right now. I'm not going to, but I just, with all this news going on with Putin and this and that, and right now I'm not even going to go. Okay.
All kinds. So basically I felt, oh my goodness, I feel extremely frustrated about what has happened to me.
Now, today, Surprise Police declined an interview on what that video shows. They said it would be inappropriate to comment further as Gokhan's potential charge is still pending before a court. But today I spoke with a civil rights attorney here in the Valley, and he tells me Gokhan getting out of her car the way she did allowed the officer to potentially fear for his or her safety.
Yes.
Driving is a privilege and not a right. And because driving is a privilege.
It is a privilege, everyone, just because I run into this all the time. It's a privilege. You don't have a right to drive.
Not a right. You're supposed to stay in your vehicle and obey the commands of the police officer. However, if you do get out, you're assuming the risks, and the officer might think you're a threat and might tackle you.
Wow. There's a lot going on here. Well, okay, people are going to hate me. I think she wants to have lunch at the White House, and she may have one next week.
Yeah, it's probably going to have a position. There's.
I'm sorry, guys. I just
You get appointed assistant director of the FBI.
Jesus.
Okay. I mean, it was in this case, I think, we've all been there when people approach you, whether it's I don't care if it's a flag in their hand or a baseball bat or a pole or a stick.
Yeah.
If you view that thing as a danger to yourself and somebody's approaching you with it, you have the right to use that force necessary to effect the arrest and take the person down. It doesn't sound like to me he didn't throw her to the ground and boot kick her or do anything, but I'd like to see the body cam footage on that. We haven't seen that yet. So
yeah, and that's what they're talking about. Greg C said she blew up politics aside. She was wrong at least 3 times in that video. The thing is, and Greg's right, you stay in the car. If you think the cops are effing with you, whatever, stay in the car, turn your camera on. You can record them. You don't need to tell them you're recording. Just record them. They're recording you, and let the cop explain what's going on. But jumping out at the police officer, absolutely the wrong thing to do. And we see it over and over again. Mark,
the point of the matter is that the flag is secondary. I don't care what if it was a Japanese flag, an American flag. It's the pole. She had a pole, and a pole is you don't come at an officer with a pole in your hand, right? And the officer has every right to disarm her.
That's exactly it. That pole was. She brought it up. Yes. And, I know politics is going to play a big part of this. You got some people very passionate, both sides of the argument out there.
That's what we're calling it these days.
Passionate. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. It's very passionate, but this is going to be interesting because one side is going to pick apart that officer. They're going to dig into his background. They're going to dox him and this and that. And this is going to happen. And the body camera is probably going to tell us a little bit more. We'll get it. I'm sure the officer's background will come out. It's going to be interesting to see where this goes. I will say she had no business getting out of her car like that.
Yeah, I taught at the police academy, and if I set up a scenario like this, and I ask the students in the academy, hey, this is the situation. You're on a car stop, and I tell the role player, come at the officer with a pole. Let's see how he reacts, and if the officer, what are you supposed to do? Tell the officer let the driver hit you with the pole?
That, like Frank says here, it's a weapon.
Yes.
Hey, there's somebody else, Abe Figgy put out there, was that San Diego PD released info on the attack, and it was captured on the ring on a ring camera. She's in Mexico. She texted a friend. I suppose he's talking about the hunt.
Yeah, the Rebecca Marodi murder, and then this
because that's what we heard. She was in
Thanks for
Mexico.
the update.
Great.
Yeah, but
Great, Abe. Thank you. Yeah, we haven't seen that part yet. As we came live here at 7, we were prepping for that. That's good to know. Okay, we'll follow up on that in a second. If one of you wants to look that up on the side, and then we can pull it up later here in a little bit. But yeah, Frank, it's definitely a weapon, and this is going to be interesting to see where this all leads. I'm predicting lunch at the White House. I'm just saying. That's just all right. Okay, here we go. All right. So, hey, listen, I am a private investigator. I run the website Stolen 911. I specialize in theft, fraud, all that cool stuff. I was in the Highway Patrol for years and mainly did theft and fraud. The very story I did today was one based on bandit tow truck scams. And this is primarily happening in the LA area. But, when you're at the scene of an accident, or you get an accident, there are tow truck drivers that are listening for the calls come out on the police scanners, and they will these scab, they call them scab companies or bandit tows. They will roll in with these unmarked tow trucks and try to convince you to let them take their car. But then they'll just hold your car hostage. It's going on in LA all the time now. I was at a presentation with a bunch of investigators a month ago, and we talked about this problem. And watch this story. This is pretty crazy. Check this out.
A warning for drivers about a scam we are seeing more often in our area. The California Department of Insurance says some tow truck companies are targeting accident victims and then holding their vehicles until a big payment is made. The warning tonight, be on alert. Now, it is happening throughout Southern California on streets and freeways. And if you're in a car accident, it could easily happen to you. We're riding along with the LAPD during the morning rush hour. Officers looking for what they call bandit tow trucks.
This is obviously a bandit tow.
Ones that show up at traffic collisions, hoping to dupe crash victims out of thousands of dollars. Nigel Sherry's family got caught up in the scam.
One of the things they'll do real quick, just to put, someone will act like he is a witness. He'll go, hey, Scott, I saw, whatever your name is, my name's so-and-so. I saw everything. I'll be your witness. Give me your phone number. And Scott, you'll give him your phone number, right? What he does is he gives that phone number to his buddy who's running the tow company. And then they will call you saying, hey, your insurance company or your automatic OnStar told us you were involved in the accident. We're sending out a tow truck. So that guy who claimed to be a witness, he is actually there. And he calls, he goes, yeah, give me your number. I saw everything. Yeah, you were totally in the right, But all he's getting is intel to get your phone number. So then they can call and make it seem like they've been dispatched by your car, talking to the cloud or someone, magically. It's pretty crazy.
The watch.
Yeah, the watch. Yeah, all that stuff, huh? I lost it. I don't know where we're at here.
So, Mark, what recourse do you have?
These companies are just robbing you.
His teenage son was involved in a hit and run on a Friday night.
The car was drivable at the time, but something went wrong with the electronics and it just stalled out.
His son exited the freeway and was approached by a seemingly friendly man who said his uncle would tow his car for free.
So they said, yeah, we'll tow it for free, no problem. And that's when it was a nightmare. That's when the nightmare started.
Nigel says his car was towed to a storage lot 5 miles away. And when the tow operator opened back up on Monday, he told Nigel it would cost $2,300 to get his car back. Nigel tried to negotiate the price down, but the tower wouldn't budge. Instead, he filed to place a lien on Nigel's car. So Nigel finally paid the tower the $2,300 he demanded, all in cash.
It was a complete nightmare for us because we we weren't sure if we were ever going to see the car again.
LAPD Lieutenant Scott Moffitt says
So the car is in storage and they're charging this outrageous. It's all illegal, but the car is still sitting there racking up these maybe fake charges. By the time law enforcement get around to handling that part of it, I mean, the car can be, end up costing thousands of dollars, even though you just want to get the car back, right? And the insurance companies want the car back.
Are these guys legitimate?
No.
Have permits?
No, we're going to get into that. They're going to get into that. These are total scab companies working with body shops and storage yards to get rent out of their spaces over there where you're storing a car at $500 a day, whatever the storage fees are.
Pretty much stealing cars, isn't it? If you don't have
I was going to say, I want to arrest them for 1051.
Well, the thing is, though, they are convincing you to give them the car.
Yeah.
They're so nice. And you're so in shock because you've just been in an accident. Right.
Yeah, but they're using tactics they're tricking you, so it doesn't matter. That aren't they still breaking, especially if they're not, they don't have licenses to tow the cars and all that.
Story again and again.
These scams are particularly advanced in that they've been in the industry for a long time.
Tow truck operators are supposed to obtain permits from the city through the police commission. But Lieutenant Moffitt says bandit tow trucks operate without a permit and charge sky-high fees.
It's particularly brazen, but it just demonstrates there's a lot of money to be made here.
Lieutenant Moffitt showed us a bandit tow playing out. He said the guy in the reflective vest is called a spotter. He races to the scene after hearing about the accident on a police scanner. He tells the victim that he witnessed the crash and he'll help by working with their insurance company or AAA to arrange a tow. But what he'll really do is call a buddy, an unpermitted tower, who will tow the car and hold it hostage until the owner forks over thousands of dollars to get it back. Lieutenant Moffitt says spotters and towers are slick and convince victims they're legit. And once a victim...
So in that scene there, you saw the officer in the background and there's a spotter there. The victim is actually saying, no, this guy's going to take my car. I don't need you, officer, because he doesn't realize he's being scammed and he just wants he just wants it taken care of. And these people are so friendly and they're so convincing that they convince the people to go ahead and take the car. And then maybe there's some deeper insurance scam going there, but a lot of times these people are just like that guy on the show where we just want to get our car back and then do $2,300 for holding the car for 3 days.
Wow. I know back in the day when we would go to an accident scene, you would tell them that their vehicle obviously needed to be towed. You go, do you want me to call you a tow? And we had tows that were in rotation that would come out and pick up the car.
Exactly.
But a lot of times they say, I have AAA. Can I have AAA come out and pick it up? Yeah, we'll have dispatch call you a AAA. Yeah.
Well, Greg, the answer Greg's question, would the police have assisted this victim if he had contacted him? Yes, the police officer would have come out and told him what was going on. But a lot of times these people are so charismatic, the cops will tell people that and they still don't care. Let's watch this and we'll get
okays a tow. All that police can do is cite the tower a minimal amount for failing to have a permit.
There are instances where we'll respond to these and they're adamant they want this bandit tow because they've just created that friendship in a very short amount of time.
In fact, that's exactly what happened at the next accident.
Right now, we're heading over to 59th and 8th Avenue for a traffic collision.
By the time we arrived, the spotter had already befriended the victim and called in a bandit tow truck to haul away the victim's car.
These people are professionals at what they do, right? They understand that if they can gain your confidence, just like a typical con man, if I can gain your confidence, I'm going to make you believe that I'm doing you a service, right? And that's exactly what's happening here.
Lieutenant Moffitt says bandit tow trucks show up to accidents 90% of the time. So if you're in an accident, chances are you'll be approached by one.
Wow.
So San Jose PD, I remember you guys have commercial units that would go out and do commercial enforcement, right, of the vehicles, correct?
Correct.
And usually they were trained, worked with our commercial enforcement of the Highway Patrol. And that's the investigators that are leading this down in Southern California. There are commercial officers for the Highway Patrol that are showing LAPD and these other agencies how to deal and how to go after these trucks, because there are multiple violations on these trucks that you can use to put them out of service if you know what you're doing. But again, these other two officers here, they're not commercial officers, right? I was never a commercial officer. I knew some basic stuff. It wasn't my thing. But there are guys that specialize in this. They drive around looking for vehicles, trailers, truck tractors, tow trucks for these type of violations, and they can seize their vehicle and impound them. But there's just not that many officers that do that type of work. But right now, the LA City Attorney, the District Attorney's Office, the Highway Patrol, LAPD, they are starting to focus in on this and trying to get some laws changed to make this a bigger penalty for doing this type of thing.
Those are the guys that wear the blue jumpsuits, right, Mark?
Yeah. So the Highway Patrol, they drive the pickup trucks, right? The big with the shells in the back.
Yeah.
Asked to see your permit. It should be a blue form. Take a picture of that permit along with the tower himself and his license plate. Better yet, if there are police at the scene, ask them to help you arrange a legitimate tow instead.
They're just bandits. Look out.
Now, some insurance companies will cover the cost of these bandit tows, but if you ask them to pay for it, your premium may go up, or they might even drop you when your policy is up for renewal. The insurance industry is fighting this scam as well, but they say it will take state legislation to put an end to it.
So the other part of this whole thing, though, too, is they're not going to take a credit card. They want cash, right? They don't want something.
Because you can always call your credit card company and fight them.
Yes, they want cash.
You tell them, no, if you can't take a credit card, then I'll get a tow truck that will. But
well, again, you don't pay Scott at the scene. You pay when you pick up your car on the other end, right? So they just want their car, so then they can store it, and then they can muscle you into like, oh, you got to pay this, man. You got to pay this. What's up? It's $500 a day here, right? Plus the tow fee, hooking up. That was another $800.
Yeah, they're not as friendly anymore. They're not friendly anymore.
No, they're not. They're scammers. These are crooks.
Yeah, it seems like to me though that it should be something that should be handled immediately through the state. They should enact these laws. I mean, it's just as silly as when all these what do you call that? Were stolen out of the bottom of cars. The what do you call those? Catalytic converters. And we allowed this to happen for so long.
Well, this is what
all kinds of things they could have enacted to make it so these guys couldn't do anything with them.
Right. And this is what things are happening. They will come out with some sort of focused legislation to stop this. In the meantime, though, it's kind of a civil thing back and forth. And again, they have convinced they're not stealing a car because they convinced the person in possession of the car to take the car. Oh yeah, go ahead, take it. Again, think about it. Guy comes up to you and says, "Hey, I saw everything, man. Oh, you were totally in the right. Give me your number. I'm going to be a witness for you." Great. Well, okay. And then he's calling the tow truck that shows up, and they show up and they got logos, Lexus, Toyota, Tesla, whatever. They got all these different patches on their vehicle, on their shirts. Oh yeah, I'm with the OnStar. They called me automatically. Yeah, I'm with your insurance. What other thing? The witness will say, "Hey, what's your insurance company?" In case they call me. Oh, I have Travelers. I have USAA. And then they give that information to the truck, right? Oh, I'm with USAA. Yeah, we got notified about your car. Like that. See, I got a USAA patch on my jacket. Wow. I mean, it is crazy the way this is going. I mean, we were going to go to LA actually and maybe drive around and listen to scanner calls and try to see some of these things happen live, because it happens all the time. And
it sounds like something that they can, if there's that many of them doing it and there's that many people involved in it, it sounds like a conspiracy to commit a crime.
There's that whole route there.
It's a confidence game. It's a scam. And they should it shouldn't be that hard to protect people from this.
Remember how long it took the state to pass laws to solve the salvage vehicles problems we had back then, where they were stealing the cars, stripping them, and then buying the frame of the car back at the insurance auction and putting all the parts back on it again with a salvage ID
surgical
on it.
Strips.
The surgical strips. We took it forever for the state to finally put a stop to that.
I remember calling insurance companies and fighting them about it and telling them, "Hey, look, it's a really easy way to put a stop."
It's been going on. Yeah, it's been going on for years. All 50 states have this problem. Canada has this problem. It's still a thing that happens, and you can keep track of it in some ways. But I used to run into it in Oakland all the time. People would report their car stolen, and then they would buy it back. And then all of a sudden the car would come back together just the way it was because it came back. We recovered it stripped, but these fraudsters have this stuff. Look at people that commit insurance fraud. I don't care if you're reporting your car scratch for a paint job or saying something was stolen, what's not, a train to go by. Hopefully my cat's not out there. There is you're a crook, right? I don't care.
Yep.
So yeah, this is going on real quick. Go ahead.
That Studebaker story.
We're going to get into that. Hey, real quick though. Make sure you ask to see tower's permit, which should be blue form. That's in LA. Okay. Take a picture. Get your camera out. Take pictures of the truck, the numbers on the truck, the license plate of the truck. Picture of the guy. Oh, you're taking my car. I want your picture. Right? Picture. The witness. Grab his picture. Right?
Oh, crooks don't like to have their pictures taken.
Oh yeah. If the police are at the scene, ask them to help arrange a legitimate tow. You can do that. They'll call one of the rotations tows, like you talked about, Scott, Steve. Beware of spotters. Again, remember there are people that are looking. They're going to show up. I was a witness. I saw it. Or they're looking around. And they're on their phone.
How about this? Asking them how much do you charge to store my car a day, and make them answer and videotape them answering, because if they, most of them aren't going to tell you that we're going to charge you $500. $500 a day. That's
actually in LA, in that part of Los Angeles. It is about $500 a day. That is the going rate.
Wow.
But there's rules on how long you can keep a car for, and the way you can store it, and the way these are permitted. There's actually rules that these guys are just, you could pay by credit card, or you could just say, here's my insurance company. My insurance company will take care of it. That one car was totaled. I mean, he ain't going to want that back, right? He's going to want the insurance payout on. So he probably didn't care, but if you just got a minor accident, you want to get your car back, this is where it could really be an issue. Verify credentials, as bandit tow trucks operate without permits and charge high fees. And so it could be more. They could be charging $1,000 a day. They'll try to do. Be cautious of friendly strangers, as spotters and
with candy
are slick and try to gain confidence to make you believe they are doing yourself a service. Right? Beware. And so if a lady comes out and says, "I'm trying to help you," and she's waving a flag, just be careful. All right. And then, so you were asking me about
the Studebaker.
The Studebaker case. Okay. Last week, we did a good one here.
Last week we were showing it, and you recovered it. You found it.
So if you go to the website, stolen911.com, just go ahead and Google it. You go down here and you're going to see this classic Studebaker that was missing in Turlock back at the end of January. And it was taken during the day of the Turlock swap meet. And all those ads are going to pop up on my Google website here. But here's pictures of the truck, and I have video of it being stolen. Okay, so this is the and you can see these two guys, one spotter over here, and this guy over here, he steals it. Anyway, he drives off. It went missing, and you know what? The people of Turlock, 209 Times, I believe, is the Facebook page. They put this out everywhere. They put this image out. I put ads out. I went around, gave flyers out. Everyone's seen this truck around town. This truck is kind of a known fixture around town. And I think it just got too hot. It just got too hot. Everyone was searching for it. A week after I was out in Turlock, I think on Thursday, I got a phone call. And basically, the call came out that it was in a field out on the far west side of Turlock, next to in one of those big almond orchards.
Last time I talked to you, you didn't know what shape it was in.
It's in good shape. Good shape. The windows are broken, and maybe some issues with the ignition is what I've heard so far. Yeah. So that was good. We really put the word out there, saturated the area on it, and I think it just got too hot because it's in pretty damn good shape. What are you going to do with this thing, right? If the media hadn't picked up on it, if I hadn't pushed it out and got the word out on it, I think there's a good chance it could have slowly been painted or stripped or whatever they're going to do with it, right? So
yeah, I asked you the last show, Mark, when we featured the story about the Studebaker. What was somebody? What were their plans? That's a very unique vehicle. The colors are unique. I mean, it's not like you can drive it in a parade or anything, or you can't drive it around town. It's so unique.
Yeah, you're going to have to strip that thing out, and use the parts for another one, or totally convert that one into a different 1950 Studebaker, and then you're going to, you're going to
Then
be
switch
able to
and
then
all that.
swap that
That's
thing.
a lot of work.
Yeah, but again, I mean, you could probably flip that thing for $20,000 in parts if you do it out slowly, or you could then switch it, paint it, then switch it, move it out of the area, out of state, out of country, out of county, and maybe 3, 4, 5, 6 months from now, sell it as a different Studebaker that's all black or all red, and you can make yourself, $30,000, $40,000 because you got some old salvage VIN number of another Studebaker that you have that you're going to use on it, that type of thing. So that's a scam. People always suspect insurance fraud too. That happens in some of these cases. But in this one, we worked closely with the family on this, and we got it back. And so again, if you had something stolen, you need a private investigator about theft, make sure you go and check out Stolen 911. I got a banner just for that that I could put up. But anyway, yeah. So thanks for checking that out. Also got these Lamborghinis being stolen, a lot of stuff. If you have any scam, fraud, theft, you want to learn about it, go to Stolen 911. All right. Where are we at here, guys? No charges against a DA declines to charge Sunnyvale officer Kevin Lemos in fatal shooting caught on camera. 10-second synopsis before we watch this, guys.
I watched it.
Go ahead. No, you go ahead, Scott.
I watched it several times, and what I saw was a guy with a knife and no pants, and the officer was trying to get him to drop the knife. The guy obviously, I believe he was saying, "Go ahead and shoot me," and he rushed towards the officer, and the officer had no choice at that point. And
let's watch it, and then we can talk about it.
I'm telling you, stop right now. I'm going to shoot you if you don't stop. Stop right there.
An officer with the Sunnyvale Department of Public Safety will not face criminal charges for fatally shooting 19-year-old Emmanuel Perez Becerra. The Santa Clara DA's office said Officer Kevin Lemos was legally justified in shooting the teenager at a mobile home park last year. The teen was naked from the waist down and armed with this knife with a 7-inch blade.
Okay, those are two indicators something's not right? Whether it's a mental health issue or something. I mean, at some point the officer's got to act for his safety and the safety of others.
Yeah, according to the Sunnyvale police, Mark, the guy with the knife, he actually called 911 himself and reported a person with a knife, and to get the police to show up to his house, and then he came out with the knife. So he's actually the reporting party on the call.
So okay.
But if you listen to his lawyer,
called 911 on himself and later forced the officer to shoot him despite repeated warnings for the teenager to stop. Prosecutors said Perez Becerra had been struggling with depression and schizophrenia for years.
As opposed to an officer trying to provide assistance to a young person who was in crisis, they shot their way out of a situation.
Attorney Adani Pointer filed a federal civil rights lawsuit on behalf of the teen's parents. He disagrees with the city's contention that this was suicide by cop.
There's no evidence to support that. That is
liar.
Yeah, I disagree. I think
he's a liar. He's taken advantage of a grieving family. I mean, none of us are going to deny that it was a tragedy, and it should. But this guy is just taking advantage and going to drag this family because he sees dollar signs. I don't care what he says. I don't care. I mean,
yeah. All right, let's watch the rest of this. Here.
An unsupported assumption made by the police to justify their actions, trying to retrofit what they did.
Pointer says police should have used other tactics.
He was in a mental health crisis, okay? That happens every day. You're just not supposed to die when you're in one and you're looking for help.
In a court filing last week, attorneys for the city denied the allegations in the lawsuit, but they wrote the knife-possessing Mr. Perez Becerra quickened the speed with which he was approaching Officer Lemos. Further admitted that only after all these actions by Mr. Perez Becerra and in response to this deadly threat, Officer Lemos fired 2 shots in self-defense and/or defense of others. The department says it takes any loss of life very seriously and acknowledged the DA's findings that supported the officer's actions. Now, the department also told me today it knows this has been difficult for everyone involved and that the officer who opened fire remains on full duty, guys.
Yeah, that's
It's
gotta
terrible.
be rough on the officer, right?
Yeah, that officer, he's not good with that. He didn't like being put in that situation. He has to deal with that and live with that. He's a victim as well. And I mean, we've all seen it. We saw another, I don't know if you're going to show the next video, where the officer were the same type of knife, and the guy closed in and stabbed the heck out of the officer and killed him.
No, you're gonna make me do one more, aren't you? That was gonna be our last one.
Yeah. Well, I mean, why not? I mean, and his attorney should watch that, because we've all dealt with people with knives. We've all been trained in that. And I'm going to tell you right now, less lethal is awesome. It's an awesome option when you have the proper ability to use it. You got 2 or 3 guys. You got a couple guys on. You got somebody on lethal. You got people on non-lethal, and etc. But as Steve and I have talked about before, a taser is not a replacement for the gun. And I have seen many times in my career, as I'm sure you guys have, I have seen people tased and it had no effect on them.
Hey, real quick, as you keep talking about it, what's the other story? Because I'm not seeing it on the list. So go ahead and tell me and I'll find it. Keep talking though.
Steve, tell
the next story is the New Mexico Las Cruces police officer who was
oh, okay, that's the one he's talking about.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Scott. Keep going.
You can see the uncensored video on our. If you go to fugitive.com, there's a link there to watch the uncensored actual body cam video shooting the. But I must warn everyone, it is graphic.
This is on the Las Cruces one.
No, this is on the Sunnyvale case.
Sunnyvale one. Oh, okay.
On the Sunnyvale case, right. Now, as Scott is saying, the less than lethal doesn't mean that it's going to work. They don't work all the time. So, you have somebody closing in on you with a deadly weapon. The less than lethal doesn't mean it's going to stop him.
Yeah, and that vest you're wearing, if you're wearing it, which you should be, is not going to stop a knife. They're not designed to stop a knife. And your throat's exposed, your arteries, your legs, everything's exposed to a knife.
Your eyes, your face.
To have a guy rushing at you with a knife, I mean, it's terrible. I feel bad for this officer that had to shoot him. He's a victim in this as well.
Okay, let's go. Let's see. Let me find the right one here. Where we at? Okay, this is the story here.
That's
Las
it
Cruces
right there.
police officer Jonah Hernandez stabbed to death, caught on camera. Oh my gosh.
Las Cruces police have released video of the incident that left one of its own officers dead, as well as the suspect last month. We want to warn you, some of the footage may be disturbing to some. Due to its extremely graphic nature, we will not be showing most of the video.
The uncensored video is also in the post.
If I were not required to release them on the Inspection of Public Records Act, I would not. It has affected people that are unaffected or seemingly unaffected by anything. It has broken a lot of people and a lot of my officers.
When Officer Jonah Hernandez arrived at the location, he saw Armando Silva sitting under a carport. According to police, Silva, who was homeless at the time, had a lengthy criminal history. Silva charged at Hernandez with what police say was a large kitchen knife, stabbing the officer repeatedly.
I have never seen anything.
So he had it in his arm here.
At the time, had a lengthy criminal history.
Oh, wow.
Silva charged at Hernandez with what police say was a large kitchen knife, stabbing the officer repeatedly.
I have never seen anything. And obviously I'm biased, but I feel like that is the worst video I've ever watched in my life. And I've seen a lot of bad videos.
29-year-old Isaiah Astorga, who witnessed the stabbing, confronted Silva out of view of the cameras. Silva charged toward Astorga, but Astorga fired 3 shots, killing Silva in self-defense. Astorga tried to help Officer Hernandez, but the officer died from his injuries.
I've said previously that I will not let Jonah's death be in vain. And I'm committed to that statement. I will not stop until we see the change that makes Las Cruces and New Mexico safer.
Chief Jeremy Story also announced several goals for making Las Cruces a safer place, including addressing the fentanyl and meth crisis.
Wow, that's that's a sad story. And
it really is. And when you look at those two stories in parallel, that lawyer should just leave, because if I was if I would show that back to back and say, okay, so at what point do you think that the less lethal, we don't call them non-lethal, but they're called less lethal, would have been that the opportunity for, obviously we're not showing the
uncensored video is in the post. You can watch it if you go to www.fugitive.com. You can see the uncensored video, but I have to warn you, it is extremely graphic. It shows the actual stabbing, shows the officer bleeding to death, and the Good Samaritan trying to administer first aid, but the injury was so severe, he cut his carotid artery in his throat, and an emergency room doctor said that there's just he was dead. There was no way, no medical treatment could have saved his life in time. And in this case, the officer, some people say, why was the officer alone? This is a case where Scott and I have had many times where you just have this nuisance guy that everybody's familiar with, that people are calling about him trespassing all the time and causing problems, and he's just been a nuisance. He's never been a threat before, and the officer thought he was just another call on this same guy who's been a nuisance, and I'm gonna run him off the property. And it turned into the last call of his life. He wound up getting killed by the guy.
Right. Hey guys, so it would be nice to compare both incidents, and this is why officers have to do what they do when it comes like that. So, but I want to before we end here, I want to go back to the story of Rebecca Marodi. So there's some updates that came out, basically, according to an arrest warrant, approximately 1 week before the incident, Rebecca told Yolanda that she was leaving her and ending their marriage. Rebecca's mother called 911 the night and told sheriff's deputies that her daughter had been stabbed in their home. So apparently the mother has found her daughter. The mother told the sheriff's office that she had a Ring camera and she would provide her phone to investigators to share video surveillance of that night. Homicide detectives later reviewed the surveillance footage and saw two people believed to be Rebecca and Yolanda running across the patio. A voice to be Rebecca is heard yelling, "Yolanda, please, I don't want to die." Rebecca then appears in the video with what looks like blood on her back. A voice thought to be Yolanda's replies, "You should have thought of that before." The two entered the home, and Rebecca is not seen again in the footage.
That's sad.
I mean, this has all just come out just before we aired. Within hours, Yolanda was then later seen wearing different clothes while gathering pets and luggage to load into the silver Equinox. Within hours, this car was seen entering Mexico. There you go, Steve. According to the Department of Homeland Security. The warrant also states that a known associate of Yolanda's received a text message post-homicide from Yolanda saying, "We had a big fight and I hurt her. I'm sorry." So so that's where we're at. So that all broke just before we started streaming. So thank you. Who was that comment on that? I think it was Eva, right?
Eva, yeah.
I apologize. Yeah.
Well, there you go.
A Figgy. Yep. Thank you. Yeah. Sad. So Steve, again, she's in Mexico. What's going on right now? Who's hunting for her now?
Well, probably the U.S. Marshals. They have teams of marshals that throughout Mexico that work closely with the Mexican authorities in tracking down fugitives. So it's just a matter of time. They'll find her.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well,
she doesn't take her own life, but who knows? Because she's already done 11 years in prison. She's 54 now, right? 54. Yeah. You know, I mean, I would imagine that, I don't know. Hopefully they never let her out again if they do catch her.
I'm sure her credit cards are no good, and she'll probably, she's going to run out of money, and she's got to eat. She's got to put gas in the car.
Yeah, and people are going to find out about you to Mexico, and they're going to turn them into.
Yeah.
Okay. So again, if you need a private investigator for something theft related, or just looking into scams and fraud, or if you have something you want us to talk about, go ahead and submit it to my website, Stolen 911. You can reach me through the website. And then of course, Scott and Steve are at fugitive.com, both on Facebook and Instagram. And Scott's going to be posting more videos of the what's going on Instagram, right, Scott? What's going on over there?
Yeah. Well, basically what I try to do is I comb through the news looking for different crime news, and stuff I feel that everybody, can be aware of. And a lot of times, we post stuff that people go, well, why do I care about that? It doesn't happen in my area. For example, that whole story you just did on the bandit towing.
Yeah.
Let's face it. I mean, once they burn out LA, what do you think they're going to do?
Well, I mean, LA is a car area. I mean, you can find this maybe in parts of the East Bay, parts of San Francisco too, but LA is huge. I mean, I spent a lot of time I have an office down in Calabasas, and I spent a lot of time in the San Fernando Valley. It's huge. Right. It takes an hour to get one side of the valley to the other. There's cars. I broke in as an officer in LA. It's huge. It's just a big area with a lot of cars, a lot going on. So.
I learned a lot from that story. I didn't even realize. I mean, as you know, I was recently in a car. My car was totaled.
Right.
But
but we live in an area. Everything's pretty contained.
Yeah.
There's scab companies around. There's been some in San Jose, definitely some in Oakland, on the peninsula and stuff like that. But nothing like LA. LA is just.
One more thing before we go, though, Mark, I want to mention is that Hillsborough police are looking for one of their officers got ambushed in their headquarters parking lot yesterday at about 4 p.m. And so Hillsborough police are asking anybody who happened to be driving in the area of their headquarters to check their dash cams.
Check their Teslas.
Check their Teslas, their dash cams. Because they're really at a dead end. They did a massive ground search yesterday after the officer was shot, and came up with nothing. So they're asking the public to check their dash cams if you were anywhere in the area of the city hall.
And Steve,
good. I was kind of curious about that story myself when I was reading through it, and I was checking some other sources, and found it quite surprising that there was no camera footage. There was no video footage.
Well, if there was, they haven't released it. They haven't released it. They haven't shared it. They haven't mentioned it. There's very little information actually out on. They haven't released the officer's name. I checked. There's no press releases on their Facebook page or their website, and I'm not sure why that is. But they did definitely ask for citizens' help to check the dash cams if you were anywhere near City Hall at about 4 p.m.
But the officer wasn't killed, though, was he?
No, he was. They said he was able to fire back at the suspect, but it's unknown whether the suspect was hit or not. And Hillsborough is a very small city in San Mateo County.
Yeah, it's a little. Very exclusive area, very nice homes.
Exclusive. I think there's only like 10. It's probably the size of one of our San Jose beats. It's like 10,000 people in the whole city.
Very nice. Some spectacular homes up there.
Yeah.
All right, we got to go.
Yeah,
Steve,
okay.
Everybody is guilty, correct?
No, we don't. We want to remind all of our viewers, anybody that we feature on any of our platforms is to be considered innocent unless proven guilty in a court of law. And please do not make any attempt to arrest, apprehend, or detain anybody. If you recognize anybody, you can either call 911 if it's an immediate sighting, or you can send us a tip at tips@fugitive.com.
All righty. I think that's going to be it. Thanks, guys. Steve and I, me and I might come back Wednesday night, correct?
Sure.
We're talking about it. Okay. Hey, guys, if we can help you with something, please let us know. Fugitive.com. And Stolen 911, just Google it. All right. Thanks a lot, Scott, Steve. Talk to you guys soon.
All right.
All right.
See you.
All right.
Have a good night.